So I have a bunch of final thoughts, and this is more words of advice. If you're thinking about starting up your own company or creating a game or making an indie game, you want to think about doing use an engine. It's much easier. You'll be able to get up and running real fast. You'll be able to prove things out really quickly. Look into buying assets. If you have people on your team, like you can hire people, but sometimes it's just as cost effective to buy some assets. And then if you buy some assets, sometimes you can hire those people that you buy the assets from to create more custom assets for you, right? So buying assets is another thing that will help you get up and running fast. Working with people over the internet is very difficult. It's called outsourcing. It's very difficult. You can never control what they're doing. You never see them face to face. So you want to try to avoid that. I know it's really interesting to have these games and you put it out there on the internet and then you have like people from all over the world who want to contribute, but it's really hard to control them and get them to contribute and live up to what they've promised. And when you have other people depending on them, it's very difficult. So you're better off having like 3 of your friends and you all get together than you are having 50 people on the internet trying to corral all those people. Get set up with your developer accounts as early as possible. That's your Google Play Store stuff, Steam, all that good stuff. Begin working on the publishing of the game 3 months before the game completes, because it's going to take you 3 months to fill out all the paperwork, get all that stuff going, right? iOS, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo costs money. And it's very difficult to do. So the best way to start a game, if you ask me, again, so this is just advice, is to use Android and release on Steam. And then once you take it that far, then work on the next steps. If you start and you go, I'm going to make it for iOS or I'm going to make it for Xbox, it's just so long and so difficult that you will get discouraged as you go. But if you can release it first on Steam, you're like, still feel excited and you're like, all right, now let's go for Xbox, right? But if you just go straight for Xbox, you'll be like, oh, this was awful. Figure out how far you're gonna go with the APIs. So if you're gonna do Steam, like, are you gonna incorporate all the different things? Like let's say Twitch. You can do a lot of really cool stuff with Twitch right now. So you need to decide like how far you're going to go and if you're going to implement this and if you're going to work it into your actual design. Localization, if you guys are going to do localization, you want to start it as soon as possible. And the reason I put this in here is because we have a lot of Spanish speakers here, right? So if you're going to do Spanish and English, you should plan that sooner than later, because there's a lot of stuff that goes into language switching that you don't even realize. Like a button in English, sometimes the Spanish word is much longer, let's say, than the English word. And if you don't design the button properly, when you try to put the Spanish word on there, it doesn't fit anymore. So there's a lot of work that needs to go in that. Start your LLC, which is your company. Start it really early. It only costs you like $50 or $80, let's say, and you're protected. Be clear about the people that you're going to hire and you're going to work with. Are you going to pay them? If you're going to pay them $10 an hour or you're going to pay them $100, you own everything. If they're working for free, they might expect a stake in the game, and you want to be clear, what they should expect and what they're going to get out of the deal. Have people sign NDAs, which is a non-disclosure agreement, which means that they're not going to leave your team and start a very similar game 10 minutes after you explain to them what a awesome game Birdshot is. You need to be excited about your project, so you need to be the most excited person in the room when it comes to your project. Like, this is going to be the best game ever. Because if you're not excited about it, they won't be excited about it. And if you want to try to seek outside funding for your project, like bring it to Activision or EA or something, you're going to need a prototype. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. You can steal stuff from other games. It's totally cool. Everybody steals something from somebody else, right? I mean, if the controller setup for GTA works, just use it. It's much easier. It's fine. Like GTA didn't invent the mini map, but they use it, so they stole it from somebody else, who stole it from somebody else, stole it, right? Your job is to make a cool, new, interesting game. So steal all the stuff that works and then add your new cool stuff on top of it. Nothing wrong with that. All right. Don't get too caught up in the story of the game and the theme of the game, which is really easy to do if you have a massive Final Fantasy story. You have to still make a game. Each feature needs to be fun all by itself. Remember that, your POC. Your critical flow, we went over that in your beat chart. You want to try to work those things out. So these are some of the things you want to work out. So I'm going to switch it. I'm going to go. So questions. So we had a question over here real quick, right?
Have you ever worked on a rush game? And if so, how does it differ from the regular process?
A game that was rushed
Yeah.
and under pressure. Yeah, all games start off like with a good, really good schedule, and most games end up being rushed at the end, some one way or the other. Um, I will say that there's a difference. Almost every game gets rushed. There's what's called a death march, and the death march is what happened to me on that Minority Report game, and that's where the game is so horribly messed up. Something is so gone so horribly wrong, and in that case, like we didn't have the script for the game until we were almost done with the game, and that was one of the things that added to it. So, yeah, I can't even begin to tell you the differences between a death march and a actual project.
How difficult is it, or how long does it take to do a port, for example, for another console, or for the example, if it's a console, how would it take for it to be on PC, or how long would it take to be in PC on console?
So, how long does it take to port a game? I guess it depends on what you're trying to, what experience you're trying to bring. If you're just trying to port it over, it doesn't take long at all because you're just trying to get it to work. But if you want to utilize any of the specific features of that console that you're porting it to, like take advantage of any of the hardware, then it's going to take a lot longer. But if you just want to get it, like I've got, it's much easier to go from console to PC, let's say. And so if you decide you're going to port something, it's just, you got to decide whether you want people to realize it's a port, or do you want them to think like it's its own thing. So it could be really quick. It could take a couple of months, or it could take a year, depending on if you're going to try to make it a unique experience.